File 1, page 6. You see straddling pages 5 and 6, there's the screen, which has two dates. The one date is when payment is processed, and the other date is, I think, is when it's going to be deposited in an account, 31st January, 4th of February. But underneath, Mr. Matlala says, confirmed all chicks to be delivered 4 February tomorrow inshallah, and you say, sure, brother.
Yes, the payment reflected on midnight of the 4th.
Midnight of the 4th.
Yes.
So you then, at some stage, called Mr. Maumela to say, I'm ready to pay you.
Mr. Matlala informed him that he's going to be paid on that day. And that's when Mr. Maumela made contact and told me to pay him.
Yes, but I'm interested in when you spoke to him, because
it was in the day, like I said, after the payment.
Yes, and if I understood your evidence correctly, he was the one who said, don't pay me personally, pay Lutaga.
That was his instruction.
Right, and it came from him in a call on the 4th.
That's correct.
Now, this was not your first payment to Lutaga. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if we go to page 499, and that's the bundle 2, file 2 of the evidence bundle.
Yes.
You'll see that between December 2023 and November 2024, Ziggy paid Lutaga 42,427,540, and prior to, over the period August 2024 to March 2025, Tamiz paid Lutaga 3,250,000.
Which 750 was from Mr. Matlala.
750 are these two Matlala payments?
Yes.
Yes. So the net payment from Tamiz to Lutaga was 2.5 million.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairperson, to assist with the transcription, can you just Lutaga's name, just spell it for the record?
Luthaga, Trading Enterprise. Now, why did Ziggy pay Lutaga 42,427,000 over the period December 2023 to November 2024?
Can I elaborate on that, Council? Can I elaborate?
Can you?
Elaborate, can I?
Please do.
Like I said, I met Mr. Maumela in 2022. We did a lot of work on my house together. We became friendly. Mr. Maumela was a gentleman. He was very helpful. Subsequent to that, we became friends. In about 2023, I was discussing a business idea with him going into a mining project, into a wash plant and a crusher plant with a mine. That was the idea that I had, which I shared with him. Mr. Maumela was quite keen on investing with me, and I said to him, okay, it's fine. If it makes sense and you feel it's good for you, we can go ahead and do this transaction. I then presented a business proposal to him. We then agreed we'll call this vehicle Chrome Core. So the vehicle was going to be called Chrome Core, and one of my entities would own 50% of it, and one of his entities would own 50% of the vehicle. we needed to raise money because obviously mining is quite cash intensive and it needs a lot of cash to operate. We then agreed we'd both each raise 50 million and 5 million capital. We agreed on that. Mr. Maumela then said to me, I said to him, look, I will raise my part, you go and raise your part. I then asked him, because he was taking a bit of time and I wanted to move with the project because this was my idea. He then said to me, he's going to sell an asset. Once he sells the asset, he'd be able to fund the project. I said, that's fine for me. How much time will it take? He gave me some timelines. And then subsequent to that, he had sold this asset. He then said to me, the monies are going to be transferred into a lawyer's trust account. I don't know the name of the lawyer at that time. And then, because Chromco was new and we didn't have a bank account, those monies will then be brought into Ziggy as his part of the project.
Sorry. Chromcore didn't have a bank account because it's new.
We were still in the process.
So the money that he makes from selling the asset is going to be paid over to Ziggy.
Yeah, it's going to come in as a loan into Ziggy.
And when was this?
This was happening in 2023, around, I should say, we started talking from about August, October, November. It was quite intensive because there was a lot of meetings, a lot of work. We needed to do a lot of presentations because it was a big amount of money for both parties. So we had to discuss it extensively.
But I still need to understand why Ziggy paid Lutaga 35 million in December 2020.
I'm getting to that, Council. So once the money got transferred to the lawyer's trust account, the money came to me. I was overjoyed now because I could start the project. Because
and what was the amount of money that came in, the full 50 million?
It was close to about 56, if I'm not mistaken, 56 million.
And just to clarify, that was 56 million that Mr. Maumela paid into the trust account? Or was 56 million?
He just said to me it was the sale of an asset. I don't know.
No, but you said once the money came in. The money that came in was Mr. Maumela's money. It wasn't your joint contributions.
No. That was his money.
And you estimate that amount at 56 million?
It was 56 million and some odd, yes.
Yes.
Subsequent to me receiving the funds, Mr. Maumela then approaches me and tells me that he's got challenges with his current house. He's paying penalties and he's losing R1 million a month on penalties with contractors. So if he could please take some of his money and complete his house, and then he'd bring back the funds so that he could continue with the project. For me, this was it was a slap in the face because I had committed. I needed to move with the project. I'd made commitments. Now Mr. Maumela is now is telling me he needs to pull out of the deal. He needs to finish his house. It was his money, so he then asked for a refund and said once he's okay, he'll bring the money back. He then instructed me to pay these monies to Lutaga. And then I said to him, look, Mr. Maumela, you're in breach of contract now. I mean, I've committed. The project needs to start. You're now taking your funds. He said, no, I'll come back. I'll make a plan. The monies will come. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell that. And I had to refund that money.
So you said you pointed out to him he was in breach of contract. Were there written contracts in relation to this venture?
We had a two-pager that we drew up on that, but we shook hands on the 56, and we said, look, once the assets are bought, we'll then draw up a formal agreement. Once we buy the assets, once we buy once we put up the wash plant, once we put up the crusher, and once I bring the plant, The actual yellow metal will then drop in agreement.
And did you have any lawyers involved at this stage of proceedings?
No, it was just me and Mr. Maumela for now.
And do you have a copy of that two-pager?
I'll have to check in my office. There was someone in my office, Council, that drew that up.
But that two-pager, as I understand it, regulated what would happen to 50 million rands of your money. You'd put in 50 million rands.
Sorry? He put in
56, but you said you came up with the money, you put in 50 million too.
No, I said he put up and I had to put up.
Yes, but his was the 56, you had to put up your own 50.
Also 55.
55,
Yeah.
yes. That two-pager was going to govern what you could and couldn't do with 55 million rands of your money and what your right of recourse was against Mr. Maumela in respect of 56 million that he'd put in.
Yeah, it was just an agreement saying that we're going to start this venture. This is what we're putting in. And
Well, we'd like to see that agreement. Can I ask that you arrange to have a copy of that agreement sent through here? Doesn't have to be right now. But, so, he had put in 56 million.
correct.
And he said he wanted to pay contractors at his house because he was incurring penalties.
Correct.
And even though you had committed 55 million of your own money for this project, you decided, well, you'd give him that money back.
It's his money, Council. I could not hold on to that money. It's his money. The man said to me he needs it, and he gave me a commitment that in a couple of months he'd bring it back. To date, he never brought it back. He's still in breach. He didn't bring it back. I continue with the project without him. And now, because of that, I had to put up a wash plant, or I have to outsource washing and crushing, which is costing me more money.
And did you ever investigate why Luta was the vehicle that he wanted you to put the money into?
Subsequent to that, I then realized Mr. Maumela's got issues with SARS, and he's got some financial issues.
When did you realize that?
When I started asking him to bring his part of the money back.
And when was that?
That was 25 March, somewhere there, the following year.
Sorry, 20?
I have to just check on the payments. It was after the payments, a couple of months after the payments. Around Feb, March of 2024, Council.
Is it off?
March of 2024.
Yeah.
So you knew in March of 2024 that he had issues with SARS.
Yeah, I saw some stuff in the media. I was just reading some stuff.
What did you see in the media?
I read about preservation order, something to that effect, yeah.
Right. So you knew that he was subject to a preservation order from March 2024? Well, you knew
Somewhere
from
around-
March 2024 he was subject to a
The
preservation?
following year, I knew that he was in a lot of trouble, yes.
Yes. So did you understand that he was asking for payments to be made to Luta because that way he could get around the preservation order?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, then why did you link the two together? Why did you?
He told me it's his sister's account, and he's got the controlling rights on the account, and the money needs to go there.
So he's got control of that account,
That's what he said to me, yes.
and it's his, although it's nominally his sister's,
That's what he said to me, yes.
and so money that was owed to him, or that was his money, could be put in that account and escape the SARS preservation order that way?
I think this was before the SARS preservation order. The money was transferred before.
Sorry, the money was transferred before the
Yeah,
SARS preservation order.
The ones in 2023. If I look at it here and I look at the preservation order, yes.
Yes, the 35 million that was transferred on the 12th of December was transferred just in advance of the preservation order. Of course, you didn't know about the preservation order at that
No,
stage.
I saw it now in my books.
But all of the money that Tamiz transferred on your version was transferred with full knowledge of the preservation order.
He asked me to transfer the money, I had to transfer the money.
And you knew at the time that he was subject to a preservation order from SARS.
Well, he just said to me, you can transfer it.
No, we've been through this already. You said that he explained to you that Lutaga was his sister's